I will just quickly summarize what the two honourable ministers have stated in terms of the game plan that your government has in place. Let me again reiterate the fact that in the last month or so, and of course in the last few weeks, days, we have been confronted with two major catastrophic events, namely COVID-19, and you have been regularly briefed on what is taking place in as far as our response to COVID-19 is concerned. And most lately is TC Harold and its devastating effects. Of course, you would agree that we are yet to be out of our cyclone season, November to April, and that is expected. Again, the priority for our government is to ensure the safety, security, and well-being of our people. And for that, let me assure every Fijian that government remains focused in its response priorities to address the two catastrophic events following the recent declaration by Cabinet. We are operating simultaneously on the 4 geographical regions, namely the Northern Division, the Central Division, the Eastern Division, and the Western Division. Again, the key priorities for us, one, is ensuring the safety, security, and well-being of our people, whether it be COVID-related or whether it be TC Harold. We have a responsibility to ensure that our people are safe and well looked after. There are priorities within this framework. One is again to ensure that people are provided with the basic essentials, namely shelter, water, food, proper hygiene, and health issues, and of course looking at short to medium term recoveries as well. Secondly, when I'm talking about the basic essentials, we also have priority on the lifelines, particularly in as far as land, air, and sea passages is concerned. And of course, Water Authority is doing its best to restore water. Fiji Roads Authority is doing its best to ensure that airfields are cleared, repaired. Same for jetties and wharfs, and of course with roadings as well. Government is providing daily updates on the status of road repairs and of course on water as well. At the same time, EFL, Energy Fiji Limited, is doing its best to energize those areas that are yet to receive power. Let me again emphasize the fact that again we have COVID restrictions and we have varying degrees of devastation in the 4 geographical regions of Fiji, and with the limited resources that we have, EFL is doing its best to energize the areas that have been affected in the last few days. Again, health and hygiene is a key issue. We don't want any outbreaks in addition to the COVID-19 that we already have in place, particularly vector-borne diseases and the others that do come after flooding and so forth. And that is why the health teams are again formed to look at the areas that were affected by the flooding. Food security is a major concern, and of course we are looking at 2 options. One is the immediate relief supplies, and of course we are looking at those that are still in evacuation centers, and of course those in the areas that have been affected by the devastation of Cyclone Harold. And initially they are considered for 14 days rationing, while at the same time the Ministry of Agriculture is going to look at short to immediate midterm priorities on how they can help with food security in the other areas of Fiji. And of course, most importantly as well, on shelter, we are collecting information based on the sources that we have already, and that is why the IDA teams are currently being deployed. Again, simultaneous operations in all the 4 geographical regions within the framework of our emergency response. And of course, let me just focus on the response phase now. As I've stated, let me begin with the Northern Division. As we speak, perhaps the major focus again on the Northern Division is back to COVID-19. Damage in the Northern Division is minimal, I would say, although there were a few houses damaged, but they have completed their IDA and they are looking at providing rations for those that need rations. But the major focus in the Northern Division now is back to COVID-19. Let's shift to the West. Again, COVID-19 operations are continuing. Whereas for TC Harold, one immediate area is the Mamanudas and the Asawas. For that, government has allocated one of its strategic assets, the MV Watulawa, to focus on the Asawas, and of course assisted, again due to COVID-19 restrictions, by MV Sibas, locally owned by one of the operators, two backpacker operators, I would say, that is helping in transporting civil servants who are to do the damage assessments in their Asawas. As we speak, they have completed their damage assessment, and of course they are considering this day for the deployment of the first 14 days rations into the Asawas and the Mamanudas. And we have the coastal areas of Vitilevu, particularly in the Nanronga, Serua, and including its neighboring outer islands, Yanuda, Mbanga, and Watulele. For that, the MV Suvavou has been assigned for that purpose. The deployment will start tomorrow for the conduct of the IDA, and of course later on they will push out the rationing, the 14 days rations as well. The major focus now is in Kandavu and Southern Lau, or the major focus or our main effort is in the Eastern Division. And for that, as already alluded to by the Honorable Minister for Infrastructure, Met Services and National Disaster Management, we are allocating 4 ships as listed: MV Ohana, MV Spirit of Love, MV Harmony, and Altruism to cover the Lau group, Yasa Yasa, and Southern Lau, and of course, respectively, 2 to Kandavu, Mbambadeva, and Mbambatokalau. In terms of resources, I would say, for you to understand what's in this boat, maybe I'll just quickly highlight the composition and what's in this boat for this initial response phase. In the Ohana, covering Onelau, Watoa, Onyea, Fulanga, and Kambara, we have about 15 RFMF personnel on board. We have 7 from Ministry of Health, including the team from CIU, and we also have 6 from the Ministry of Infrastructure and Transport. We have 4 from the Ministry of Itoke Affairs, 1 from Water Authority Fiji, 1 from TFL, 5 from the Ministry of Agriculture, 2 from the Ministry of Education, and we have 3 from Fiji Red Cross. We have 1 from the Ministry of Rural Development and Ministry of Rural Development, and 3 from Empower Pacific, and we have 1 from NDMO, and we have a total of 49, but we've made capacity for 53 people should we have a few more added. And as been alluded to, we have the staging at RKS so that we avoid congestion in Atovi, and they are going through the normal screening process because we don't want to take COVID into the islands. And of course, as we speak, concurrently, the loading is beginning to take place as well. In terms of the cargo, we have about 21 tons of cargo, and the majority of these is on food items for the 14 days for Southern Laos. And we have water tanks as well. There's a lot of damages to water infrastructure, and we are looking at temporarily providing them with water tanks before Water Authority will do the assessments and then work out what's needed in the short to medium term before we go into full restoration. And of course, we have the normal equipment that goes with that. For those areas that need vehicles or are accessible by roads, probably the inclusion of light vehicles. And for Kandavu, we will be also loading trucks into that. Very quickly, let me just look at Yasa Yasa Moala as well. In terms of number of personnel, we are looking at 49 as well, 15 from the Republic of Fiji Military Forces, 8 from Health and CIU. We have 6 from MOIT, 5 from Itoke Affairs, 2 from Water Authority, and 5 from the Ministry of Agriculture, Education, Fiji Red Cross, and of course most of the other ministries as well. What I'm trying to highlight is it's a composite team, not only by government, but of course our major partners as well. And we have Empower Pacific and of course Fiji Red Cross in it as well. In terms of cargo, about 14 tons and so forth. And very quickly for Kandavu Mbambadeva, we have about 54 personnel included in that. I will not go into the list, but in terms of cargo, we have about 21.9 tons of cargo on the Spirit of Harmony for Mbambadeva. And for Mbamba Tokalau, we have considered 46 personnel, and of course we have about 59.5 tons of cargo. This is where most of our cargo is going. Let me just conclude as Minister responsible for national security. Let me highlight the fact that both the Fiji Police Force and the RFMF are heavily involved in all this. As I've stated initially, the safety, well-being, and security of our people is of paramount importance. For the Fiji Police Force, they are continuing with the control of population movements. You will see the various checkpoints. They are also enforcing the COVID-19 restrictions, particularly on social gathering and the curfew hours. And of course, their normal law enforcement responsibilities and functions. With the RFMF, we are there to assist the police if manpower is stretched and for whatever reasons that may be required. And of course, we are also assisting both the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Disaster Management in the normal assistance that comes from the RFMF during events as such, particularly in the area of planning, in the area of running the operations, and of course providing the necessary support from communications, engineering support, logistics, transportation, and so forth. And in NDMO, again, the same responsibilities. And of course, let me just again plead to all Fijians, this is extraordinary times for us. Government is doing its best, but we need to work together. Every Fijian, we need to work together for the betterment of the country and return to normalcy as quickly as possible. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.